Today we're going to do something a little bit different because I'm a big fan of DIY, and as a gamer, we all know that personalization of our gaming environments is very important. And so with that in mind, I'm going to show you a couple of mouse pads that I've made. This one's really cool, and this one I made for my son for his birthday last year. Now this stuff is actually pretty easy, so with that in mind, I'm HMODS and you are watching HMODS.
Oh, yeah. You gotta get swifty! You gotta get swifty in here! It's time to get swifty!
This video is brought to you by CyberGameway, with an emphasis on exposing streamers of all types, as well as exploring business relationships with partnered websites and service providers. CyberGameway is the place you want to be for streaming gamers who want that sub bump. To apply for membership or sponsorship, head over to cybergameway.com.
So this stuff actually isn't very difficult, and this one I actually used for my TV PC for Blandolf, and really all you need is just a few things. One, you need fabric, and I understand in quarantine it's a little bit difficult to come by, but most fabric stores still are open. They do curbside stuff. So if you want your own mouse pad, you just need some fabric, some of this Yaya Han cosplay foam. It's pretty cheap. You also need some scissors. These are good ones. These are like fabric scissors that I got from Joanne. You need a marker, and lastly, you need a ruler and some spray adhesive. And if you're feeling froggy, there's another step which we can do once we're done here. So let's just take a look at what we got. So I've got this foam, and it's about 24 inches long. We're going to be doing like 22 inches. Really, this is not going to be something you're going to want to put a keyboard on, although you could if it's not a 10 keyless keyboard, you could actually fit it pretty well. And then if you've got a fast mouse, you wouldn't need a whole lot of space. So really, this is kind of a mouse pad for a smaller environment. So when you're measuring this out with 5mm foam, which is what this is, you definitely want to leave a little bit for the lip, because as you can see, we are going to be having it so that it covers it. You could have it so that it's not, but it kind of looks a little bit ugly, because when you're cutting the fabric, you might leave a little bit of spare stuff that's kind of like going on top, and we don't want to do that. So I'm going to leave about an inch. We can probably do a half an inch, but you always want to make sure that you want to measure enough fabric so that you've got spare on the side. And then over here, so what we have here is failure to communicate. So I'm going to measure a 20-inch pad. This is really, it's 5mm foam, so you wouldn't think that it cuts very well, but it actually cuts very well because it's soft. This is for like cosplay stuff. So when people are like making their cosplay armor, or you see like girls on Patreon that are making all that weird intricate stuff, basically they're using this stuff and maybe some 2mm foam to like layer on top of the boobies. So this is actually really easy to cut, especially if you have good sewing scissors. And this part is actually really easy, but I am going to get some cargo blankets to put down in here because I would rather not spray adhesive my nice tabletop. Spray adhesive, by the way, I don't know if you can get this at Joanne Fabrics, but I'm pretty sure you can. But you can also get this at Menards. And once again, like I've used these before, this is just a cheap cargo blanket that I got at Menards. You can actually get these for like $5. And it saves a lot of money in the long run, because if you're going to be doing a lot of crafting, you don't want to be spending the money on those plastic tarps that you have to cut and tear and throw away when you're done. These are $5. I have used them many times. And it's soft fabric, so if it crusts a little bit, it's not going to be a big deal. Cool thing about spray adhesive is it's not like spray paint. It doesn't just go everywhere. It's pretty just about unidirectional. And with making this, you want to be a bit liberal with your application of the spray adhesive. You just really want it to stick. It's not like glue that it's going to come through the fabric, so it is going to hold really well, but you don't want to have any open spots. And it's not like spray paint, by the way. You don't have to like, you can just go. I didn't do this before. Nice.
Make a nice happy thick coat of spray.
Now with this stuff, you want to give it a little bit of chance to like dry a little bit so it gets nice and tacky. You always want to keep a nice clean environment in your newfangled workshop. When you're doing this, you really want to have as flat a surface as possible. Because what we're going to do first is we're going to lay the fabric while this is getting tacky. You want to do the fabric first because if you're trying to spread it over the foam, it can get you're going to wind up trying to stretch it, whereas if you just lay it down like this, all you've got to do is go like this. You just boop and boop and boop. And with that, we have a nice flat area that this is sticking to. And then you just sort of kind of fold it around like that. You can fold it down like this because it's not going to be a big deal. You can fold it down like this. It's not going to be a big deal. The important thing is to make sure that it's nice and even. So you want to go like this because it's going to transfer to the other side. And as you can see, it's good to go. It's good. And then we're just going to let it dry for a little bit. And just a little bit, and then what we're going to do is we'll just cut the sides off. Okay, now this is just a peripheral thing, and it's an idea that I have. If you want your mouse pad to be a little less moving a little bit, I suggest getting some Plastidip from Menards or Lowe's or your local hardware store. And basically it's just liquid rubber. And so what you do is you just grab one of these stupid disposable thingies, just dip it in there a little bit, and just paint some of it on there around the outsides. Because what this will do is it gives it just it's not going to be super sticky on your surface, but it will add some toughness to the slip, so it won't move as much. If you're not forcing it, then it's just not going to go anywhere. What I also would suggest too, I'm not going to do this right here because I got that kind of time. If you have a heat gun or something, you can take the heat gun to this and it'll dry in like 40 seconds. But this stuff does dry pretty quickly as it is. This will probably be dry in about 15 minutes if I just leave it. You're going to want to throw out your paintbrush that you used for this right away because once it dries, it's completely useless. But it's going to dry and it's going to look really nice, and then we're just going to cut off the fabric. I decided to take the heat gun. Now with foam, you do not want to use the high setting and you don't want to have it right on top. Just want to okay. Now, even with the low setting, you're going to want to put something on top of the foam because it's going to curl a little bit. So, a hammer. That'll do. We are going to cut the spare fabric off. And with the spray adhesive, you might find that some of the fabric is coming off while it's drying. So as you can see, I'm leaving a bit of a lip because I'm going to have to reapply some. You know, this is just a really weird thing. I never thought I would have to be giving instructions on what on stuff to do to do by yourself during a quarantine. This is a very sort of in the movies kind of thing for me. Lately I've been watching a lot of movies where I sort of discover parallels. Like if you ever watched the movie Time Cop, it's an old Jean-Claude Van Damme sort of kick him in the face kind of movie. And it actually has a lot of parallels to what we're living in now as far as how the United States is. But another one I just watched last night. What was it called? We watched two movies last night.
Ultraviolet and
Yeah.
Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, last night we watched two movies. It was Ultraviolet with Mila Jovovich, and it's about like vampires and basically virus, stuff. All the vampires are viruses now. And then we watched Hobbs and Shaw, which also had a virus in it. It's discovering a lot of parallels these days. We're good to go, but as I said, there's a little bit of there's a little bit of stuff where it's just not drying so well, so we're back to the blanket. Now one little thing here, come in real quick. See this corner right here? If you got any adhesive on the corner, that's a good thing because you can just cut it and it'll be a nice, very clean corner. With this step, you want to be just a bit meticulous because you don't want to, I mean, it's not a big thing, but you don't want to have like dumb cuts like where it just looks like a 4-year-old did it. If you like do it really quickly when you're cutting it, it will look like shit. And this is where getting good scissors comes in really handy. Because even though I'm doing this very slowly, this thing is just going along for the ride. And if you have crappy scissors from Walgreens or whatever, or CVS, you're gonna this you can just go all the way down like that. This is made for stuff like this. Danielle came up with a good point. She asked me if you're using like a really thin fabric, would it be just a better idea to turn it over, you know, just run it over the other side and just lay the liquid rubber on top of that. It's actually not a bad idea. If you want to do that, then that would be fine. And again, with the spray adhesive, it's not going to come through the fabric. It's really good that way. And there we have it. As you can see, it's nice and flat from putting the hammer on it. It's not going anywhere, and I'm not even like, it's not going anywhere. The rubberization on the bottom helps a lot. The fabric is nice and secure on the foam, and you can even fold it if you need to. And altogether, this took me about a half hour, and that's because I was being super meticulous about it. But if you're not too careful about it, or you're not making a huge one, it will probably take you 15-20 minutes. So that's it. If anybody wants this thing, you can PayPal me like 10 bucks and I'll mail it to you. Leave your questions and comments below. Be sure to subscribe and make sure you check out the Twitter, the Facebook, and my new Twitch account, wherein I like to play older games like Deus Ex and go insane. If you check out the clips on there from a couple of days ago, you'll see what I mean. It was terrible. Yeah, so I'm Hubs and I'm out of here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.